Good day. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Welcome to the Systems Analysis and Design class. In this sixth meeting, we are going to discuss how to design an effective output and input. In order to understand effective output and input design, we will need first to understand the output and input design objectives. These are the output design objectives. The first one is to serve a specific user or organizational purposes. So this means that the output is designed in order to fulfill a user's need or the organizational's need. So it all depends on the users or the organizational need of the output. The second one is that the output should be meaningful to the users. This means that the users will be able to use the output for their decision-making process. And the third one is to deliver the appropriate quantity of an output. As you can see that between quality and quantity, there's a trade-off. The higher the quantity, the lesser the quality. But the lower the quantity, the higher the quality. But this means that you need to pick one of the side. So this means by delivering the appropriate quantity, you can maintain the quality of the output also. And the fourth one is to make sure the output is where it is needed. For example, if the sales department produce an output from their sales system, so the output will be used by the department that is related with the sales department. For example, the marketing department or even the higher level organizational structure. For example, the sales manager or the director of sales or even the president director. These four first design objectives are basically based on the content of the output itself. So whether it can fulfill the user's need or whether the content of the output is meaningful to the users as well as the content of the output is where it is needed. And based on the content of the output, we can separate into two different types of output. The first one is the internal output, which is basically the output that is produced by the system and is intended to the internal structure of the organization. For example, the employees and the managers of the company. While the other one is based on content that is supposed to be given to the third party, which is basically the external output. An external output is usually given to third party that is related to the company or even not related to the company. For example, promotions to customers and other non-customers also will get some promotions, and also some reports that should be given to the suppliers. The fifth one is to provide output on time. This should depend on the output technology that is being chosen. For example, if the systems wanted to provide an online real-time output, this means that the technology that is chosen can also provide that online and real-time output. The last of the output design objectives is to choose the most effective output method. We can pick from several options. As we can see here, we have several types of output methods. The first one is the printed output, and then we also have the display screen output, and then we have the audio output and podcasts. And next we have mobile devices output, including tablets and laptops. And last we have the electronic output, including emails, websites, blogs, and RSS feeds. All of the different output methods here have their own advantages and disadvantages, as you can see here. For example, a printed output is very simple and affordable. However, it is environmentally unfriendly. While the display screen output is very interactive, however, it requires space to install the display screen. And next, we will discuss about output bias. An output bias is basically when the system produces an output intended to the users. However, the users misinterpret the output. So there is a bias there. The output bias can happen in the information system in several ways. The first one is how information is sorted. Usually, the output is sorted sequentially. If the output is sorted at random, then the user will have difficulties in trying to understand the output, since humans usually look at it sequentially. The second one is when setting of acceptable limits. A bias can happen, for example, if I design a PowerPoint output, usually the acceptable limits that can be read by users is maybe 5 to 10 rows. If it's more than 10 rows, for example, 100 rows of wordings, this means that it should be a novel instead of a PowerPoint. Users will probably misunderstood what I'm trying to inform in the PowerPoint. Next, bias can also come from the wrong choice of graphics. For example, I want to compare the sales of cars and trucks. In this histogram graphics, it's very difficult for me to compare each year of the sales from cars and trucks. While if I choose a different kind of graphics, for example like this one, it will be easier for users to compare sales of cars and trucks per year using this kind of graphics compared to the previous one. Once we consider the output bias, next we will start with the output design. We have printed output, display output, and graphic output. Display output, although they are different in their methods, for example, printed output is usually for text output, tables output, or even graphical output, but they are static. While display output is usually more interactive compared to the printed output, because although it's a display output, we can use a touchscreen as a display output. And the third one is the graphical output. This is basically similar with the printed output and display output. However, the result is in graphicals. And the fourth one is the dashboard. Dashboard is an output design that consists of a lot of aggregate informations. And the aggregate information is shown in an indicators type. For example, it's similar with the car dashboard or your motorcycle dashboard. It will show us the indicators of some key performance indicators that is available in the company. For example, sales and so on. And it will indicate on the status of the key performance indicators of the company itself. For example, just like a fuel indicator, when we want to refuel our gas, we can see it from the fuel indicator. This kind of output design is usually intended for top level management. Next, we have the infographics. Infographics is the output design that is intended for a certain type of topics to be delivered to the users. For example, here is the topic is how to create a human. These infographics shows sequential information in animated infographics. Where does a human come from? And next we have the Web 2.0 output design. The design is basically based on the social media designs. So in the web page of the Web 2.0, we have a lot of social media accounts and a lot of social media postings and sharings and so on. And the next one is the app or mobile applications. The design is a bit special because you need to consider the availability of the output designs to users who are using mobile phones. So this means that the screen on a mobile phone is very small, so you will probably need to design the output as to be easily readable by the mobile phone users. And the last one is the Extensible Markup Language Output Design or XML design. The XML is a very flexible output where you can convert the XML output to a lot of output designs. For example, to a mobile phone design or even an XML document that can be sent to another systems on the supplier or even another systems to the company's branch. After we understand how to design an effective output, next we will continue with the design of an effective input. Similar with the output, in order to understand how to design an effective input, you need to first understand the input design objectives. We have several objectives. The first one is effectiveness. So that the user will be able to input data effectively to the systems. For example, the input design is done in a flow that enables users to only input data in accordance to the flow of the input design. The users will not be distracted and have to follow the sequential flow of the input design. The next objective is accuracy. The input design should enable users to accurately input data to the system. So this means that the data that is being inputted into the system has been validated appropriately using program validation. And next is ease of use. The input should be designed so that the users will have the least effort to input data to the system. An interactive guidance such as pop-ups or even appropriate labels or naming or captioning will enable the users to easily use the input design. The next objective is consistency. The input design should be structured, consistent, and not messy. For example, in the input design of biodata input, for example, there's a name and then address, sex, and so on. For example, the types of font for each of the labels and even the size of the font should be consistently the same. So the users will not be too difficult in understanding the input design, as well as the input design will be more structured and not messy. The next objective is simplicity. The input design should be simple and straightforward. So this means that the users will be able to understand and know where to input the data to, and also it's not too complicated to the user. So this is related to the ease of use. And the last one is attractiveness. The input design should be as attractive as possible so that the users wanted to input data to the input design. Attractiveness will also affect the behavior of the users. If the input design is attractive, then the user will feel happy and satisfied when they are inputting data to the system. Once we understand about the input design objectives, next we will look at the types of input design that can be used by the analyst and designer. The first design is electronic forms. An electronic form should be designed in accordance with the input design objectives that we discussed previously. So it should enable users to input the data effectively and accurately. So this means that automated validation inputs are available in the electronic forms. And the labelings and the columns that will be used to input data should be consistently designed, structured and organized in a way that the users can input the data with a minimum efforts, and it should be simple and easy to use. The second design is display screens and web forms. Display screen here is with a touchscreen display. So it can also produce some outputs. For example, similar with the web forms, it can produce pop-ups that list some guidance in order to make the users easier when they are going to input the data. The third one is graphical user interface. Graphical user interface is where we can design by using graphical objects that has been already designed inside an application. For example, by using a control toolbox. I will demonstrate by using Microsoft Excel after this. In Microsoft Excel window, I can go to the developer menu and then select Visual Basic, and then I can access the Visual Basic environment. Then I can insert a user form, and as you can see in the upper left, in the user form I can select several control toolboxes and draw the control toolboxes inside my user forms. For example, here I will draw a label here, for example, and then I will change the caption using names. And next I will also draw another label, just copy it, and I'll change it to sex here, to change the caption. And now I'm going to draw another control toolbox, a text box toolbox here, so that I can input text to the name toolbox. And next I'm going to put a combo box so that I can choose a couple of data for the sex, and I can input the data first. Let's go to the Excel window, and on column A1 and A2 I'll put male and female as the data, and then after that I can go back to the Visual Basic windows, and then on the combo box I will look at the property and find a row source, and I'll input A1 and until A2. Okay, and then I'll draw another control toolbox, for example comment button here. Just change the caption. And next I can run the applications, and as you can see here I can put text in the name, and I can choose the data that has been already listed here, yeah. And then I can also click on the comment button, and this is the most exciting part, where I can click and click and click and click the comment button. Then I can go back here. So that's how you design an input by using graphical user interface employing control toolboxes. The next input design is the website design. An effective website design usually have several good components such as AJAX or asynchronous, JavaScript, and XML. The AJAX is a combination of JavaScript and XML, where the JavaScript will be able to call data in the XML database, and the data will be automatically updated in the JavaScript. So this means that when you open a website, whenever you do something to the website or input data to the website, it will be automatically updated and shown to the user. I have provided an AJAX tutorial module on Alox that you can follow the instruction. It should enable you to understand how to create an AJAX website and understand about XML and JavaScript. This is an example of AJAX. Whenever a user finishes inputting data to the website, it will open a new input menu. And next is the hamburger icon. Just like a hamburger with two buns and some fillings in between the two buns. This icon in three lines here, it will show a menu that can be clicked, and it will then show a sub menu that you can also click. The next component is what we call the breadcrumb trail. The breadcrumb trail will show you a menu path where you came from. For example, in here, you came from several menu before the home menu in the website. And the last component is the fat footer. This is where in the website, in the bottom part of the website, you can put a lot of information. For example, all of the menus or sub-menus or even social media menus inside the bottom of the website. This is an example of a very fat footer. There are a lot of information or menus that can be clicked or navigated from the footer here, as well as you can see that there are social media pages that can be clicked to go to the social media of the company of the website. I think that's all that I can explain in a brief. For more details, you can discuss it in the synchronized session and the asynchronous session in the discussion forum. I'll be seeing you guys on the next session. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.